Here's a clip from this week's episode of the Comedy on 11 podcast. Some bad news for one particular guitarist. And this happened just the other day, and I was scrolling through Instagram, and I follow a guitarist named Emily Wolfe, who is just a beast of a guitarist. She's a Gibson artist, and one of the first things I saw that day was this. It was a photo that she posted of her custom Emily Clark Epiphone guitar with a broken headstock. And I'll read you what the post said. It says, yesterday I flew with my Epiphone White Wolf guitar on Southwest to Vegas. I followed every guideline with traveling with an instrument. Hard shell flight case, checked in properly, fragile stickers, and paid the new bag fees. When I opened the case, the headstock was completely broken off. I filed a report at the airport, provided photos, proof of value, and repair estimates. Despite following their process exactly, I was told they're not responsible for anything inside the case and that the instruments are considered fragile items. If Airlines can damage professional grade instruments, charges extra for them, and then refuse to take responsibility, it puts every traveling musician at risk. This is not just about one guitar, it's about protecting the tools of our craft. Southwest Airlines, you can do better by setting an example and doing the right thing, cover the repair cost. Do better for all of us who fly with your gear, with our gear. This is exactly one of the reasons I stopped being a guitar comic. Because if 3/4 of my act or half of my act or whatever it was at the time when I started relied on a guitar and that happened and I opened my case and the headstock was broken off, it hurt my soul when I saw that photo. And there's another photo that she posted which is just heartbreaking of the headstock just completely off. And if you're listening to the podcast, you're not watching the video, I'll put the link to the photos in the notes section. But this is heartbreaking. Any professional touring musician understands how important it is to have your gear. And to see this happen, just absolutely, I was like, I saw that and I immediately texted that photo to my girlfriend. And I was like, this is why I needed a good, dedicated carbon fiber travel guitar. Like this thing that just happened with the headstock broken off inside a case, marked fragile, a hard shell travel case that the airport says you gotta have. She did all the things correctly and they still broke it. They still broke the neck. And then Pete Thorne chimed in and he said, my last trip to Vegas, Southwest Airlines, same deal. Les Paul, broken headstock. Also, same thing happened to Gilby Clark's Les Paul on the same trip. Southwest, go F yourself. Now, someone did bring up the fact that these were all Gibson or Epiphone style guitars. And Gibsons and Epiphones notoriously have easily breakable headstocks. I get that. I understand it. You know, some people don't play Gibsons or Epiphones specifically because that headstock is at such a tilt that this can happen. This can happen very easily. Now, with that said, even if it is, you know, partially because of that, there's no reason for this. There's no reason for the headstock to have gotten snapped like that in a hard shell travel case. Some kind of, what had to happen physically for that kind of damage to happen to this guitar? I have dropped guitars in cases from unfortunately high distances, and this never happened. This neck snapping like that has never happened. So my question is, regardless if it's a Gibson or an Epiphone and the neck is, or the headstock is like, tilted at that angle, the kind of carelessness and physical stress that had to have happened to this instrument for the neck to snap like that, completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And Southwest needs to get their S together and fix that and repair it. Because if they don't, what happened to them or what happened to United Airlines could happen to Southwest Airlines. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, back in 2009, there was a guy named Dave Carroll. He was in a band called the Sons of Maxwell. If you're watching the YouTube video, you're going to see the video of Dave. So his band was flying, they're a Canadian group. They were flying from Halifax to Chicago, and United Airlines broke his Taylor guitar. He goes to United Airlines and he says, "Hey, you guys broke my very expensive instrument." And Taylor was like, "Well, we're not fixing it. You can go after yourself. We're not fixing it." And Dave goes and writes a song, actually writes a trio of songs. He writes 3 songs called United Broke My Guitars. They released these. United refused to pay for the instrument, which if we look at, the cost of a Taylor guitar, here we've got some Taylors on Reverb right now. $1,800, $4,600, $4,200. They're not cheap instruments. You get a good custom Taylor GS like this one that I'm looking at on Reverb, $12,000. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it was a, let's say it was a, just a regular touring guitar, and it cost him, I don't know, $2,000, $2,500 at the most. Let's say he was bringing a professional Taylor 712 CE or 612 CE, and it cost like $3,000. United refused to pay that $3,000 to replace the guitar. Dave goes on and writes this song called United Broke My Guitars. He writes 3 songs. United stock drops 10%, which wind up costing the company $180 million because they didn't want to pay $3,000 to fix his guitar, because they didn't want to take responsibility for their staff breaking his precision instrument. And I guess the song goes, he was on an airplane and people just like behind him were going, "Oh my God, they're throwing guitars back there." And he looks out and he sees the airline staff like literally just tossing guitars around. Maybe not like they are in the video, but they are not careful with them. And apparently the crew members he talked to just didn't give an F. They were just like, "Whatever, we don't care. It doesn't matter to us." And had United just paid the, let's say at most $2,500, $3,500 guitar, that wouldn't have happened. They lost $180 million in value because they refused to pay for his guitar. They refused to take responsibility. That's what it was. It wasn't that they broke the guitar. They refused to take responsibility for a passenger's stuff, expensive stuff. And I believe that case is now studied at Harvard Economics about, companies taking responsibility for their passengers and their customers and doing the right thing. Like, just do the right thing. And United lost $180 million because of it. So when the thing happened with Emily Wolfe, that was the first thing I thought about. I'm sure that is the first thing every guitarist thought about when they saw that, when they saw Emily's photo. You know, and I think, God, how many times did that get favorited? Like 10,000 times? Southwest Airlines, who already are doing a bang-up job killing their own company. You know, recently Southwest decided to get rid of the open boarding. They started charging for seats again. You know, I used to fly Southwest almost exclusively when I was touring as a comedian. And now, like, I haven't flown them in a while, but I'm never going to fly them again. All the advantages there were to flying Southwest Airlines, the open seating, the no charges for flight changes, the no luggage fees, all of that's gone. And now this, oh boy. If what happened to United happens to Southwest, it's going to be nobody's fault but their own. Because they knew. They knew that happened. I mean, it was, you know, it was 2009 that happened, so 16 years ago. But it's case law. They lost $180 million because of it. So I hope Emily gets her guitar fixed, or United gets their S together and does the right thing. Just do the right thing.